Unfortunately,
That's what they're saying.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. We live in a world where a lot of things are fluid. It's based on whatever's, at least how people look at it. So, absolutely, absolutely. Let's go to Romans 14. In Romans chapter 14, there's this little phrase at the end of verse 20, or at the end of the chapter in verse 23, where it says, "But he who doubts is condemned if he eats, because he does not eat from faith. For whatever is not from faith is sin." What's he talking about here? Go ahead, Darrell.
If you believe that something is wrong, go ahead and do it. And you're condemned because of that phrase that you just read. It's violating your conscience.
Yeah.
Your conscience maybe needs some training. What was it that Brother Tree said needs calibration?
Yes.
If you're not calibrated properly, you're going to condemn yourself because you think it's wrong and you went ahead and do it.
And you probably need to abstain until you can get to a place that, from that activity until you get to a place that you can do it in a clear conscience. That's one of the other issues that we have. One of the other issues of a sensitive conscience, look at verse 3 of Romans 14. "Let not despise him who does not eat, and let not him who does not eat judge him who eats, for God has received him." So sometimes we get in this situation where we say, okay, I've calibrated, I'm going to use Brother Treat's word, I've calibrated my conscience based upon the Word of God. I feel like it's doing what it needs to do, it's keeping me out of situations. Now I'm going to go make a list of all these things that I don't need to be doing. And then I become so sensitive about those, then I run around binding things that don't matter. Things that are just matters of judgment or opinion, and I run around binding them on all the brethren and telling them what they can and can't do. And that's an overreach. That's some of what this passage is talking about. And there's a lot of other things we could talk about with Romans 14, people putting things in there that don't belong and all that. But I want to make a point about this. Yes, we need to encourage and help each other, but we need to be real careful that we don't think we're just so calibrated on point that we run around pushing all of our little pet opinions on everybody to the extent that, you end up causing dissension is what ends up happening. So, and then just to that point, sometimes people say, well, I respect my brother or my sister's conscience. I really do. People will tell you that. And then something will come up in their lives, and then they get mad when someone has to abstain for something due to conscience reason. Let me give you an example. Somebody I know was recently getting married. Now, I was going to be out of town. I couldn't go to the wedding. It wouldn't have mattered. But I told Deanna, due to the situation, I said I wouldn't walk across the street to go to that wedding. Now, some of you are looking at me like, well, what does it matter? Well, I couldn't go to that wedding in good conscience. I was not going to go give blessing to this situation. Known this individual for 20 years, I wasn't going to do it. And some of you feel it wouldn't have mattered whether I went or I didn't go. That's beside the point. The point was I couldn't go and do it in a clear term. And whoever's on the other end of that needs to respect that. They need to understand that. And if someone else wanted to go, that was fine. I didn't care. I wasn't personally going. Now, that's a simple example. But people say, yeah, we understand, we appreciate, we respect your conscience. And then when you have to actually respect that. Sometimes that's where the rubber kind of meets the road sometimes. There is something I want to finish with, and we'll close. It's a book. I didn't actually read the book. Some of you know Sean Cavender. He actually wrote an article I didn't know that was out there that I found last night. It comes from MacArthur's book, The Vanishing Conscience. And he says in MacArthur's book, there's 5 steps to where your conscience can be made whole. And I just want to read the 5 steps. We don't have time to look at the passage. It says, number 1, in order to clear your conscience, you need to confess and forsake sin. Number 2, you need to ask for forgiveness and be reconciled to those whom you've wronged. Number 3, you need to make restitution. Number 4, you need to not procrastinate in clearing your wounded conscience. And then number 5, you need to educate your conscience. And I thought that was kind of a neat order that he put to it, kind of a neat summation. So go ahead, Jody.
Real quick, Proverbs 22, train up a child in the way he should go, when he is old, he will not depart from it. We all know that's not just a hard and fast
Sure.
to do that. But as a society, we have seared our children's conscience at an early age by compromising our beliefs and what the Word of God says. You talk about those lies, in
Yeah.
school
Yeah.
to the teacher. Well, you do that enough with your kids, and not only, in my opinion, not only are you searing their conscience, but you're searing the other kid's conscience too by saying, I know what that, you got kids that, I know what that kid has done, and yet he gets a free pass. Well, they find out. The parents why? Well, if it's okay for them, why is it not okay for me?
Yeah, kids don't have a chance before they ever get out of the house. It's
And that's what we've
yeah.
done as a society.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. Anything else? All right, we'll stop there. Roger's turn next week.